Just listening.
So there you are driving down the road when your low oil light comes on. You get to your nearest auto store so you can top off your car. You wouldn't just add any oil, would you? Or would you look through your owner's manual and find the correct oil to add? Now imagine that your body is the engine of your car, and the oil used to top off the engine is the food you consume. Wouldn't you want to put the correct fuel for your body to make sure it's running at optimal level?
Much better.
A study performed at the University of Maryland Medical Center, researchers found that an astonishing 1 out of every 133 people in the United States has celiac disease. This isn't working. We'll get to that and what we can do to lower those numbers in a minute, but for now I want to tell you about the paleo diet. I'm sure you've heard about it. It comes with many names: a whole foods diet, clean eating, caveman diet, and many more. The idea behind the diet is that you eat only foods that our ancestors from the Paleozoic era would have eaten. This means meats, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds. No sugars, dairy, salt, or anything processed. We know what our earliest ancestors ate by studying the fossil records, studying contemporary hunter-gatherer diets, studying chimpanzee diets, and by studying the nutrients from wild animals and plants. A good rule of thumb is if it's packaged or has more than one ingredient, you probably shouldn't eat it because your body was not designed to. Everything changed in the human diet once the agriculture era started. Humans began growing grains and legumes, both of which are not natural to the human diet. With the invention of agriculture, wheat, barley, corn, and other grains became a staple in the human diet. I know that none of these are packaged and all come from the earth, so they should be fine to eat. The answer is yes, but it's also no. Grains require processing before they can be eaten. They've been ground into flour to make bread and other staples. If they are not processed, they are somewhat inedible in some cases. Science discovered that in the years following the agricultural revolution in Turkey and Greece, the average height of the population shrunk. Men shrunk from 5'9", and women shrunk from 5'3" down to 5'3" and 5 foot, respectively. Although the size shift in a population's height does not necessarily mean that people are getting sick, there are many other signs which show that other issues following the agricultural revolution, that people were getting sick. There was more infectious disease, higher childhood mortality rate, and shorter lifespans in the post-agricultural revolution humans. Now that you have a general idea of how our Paleolithic ancestors ate and how our post-agricultural diets affected our ancestors, let's look at how our diets today are affecting us. As I mentioned at the beginning of the speech, 1 in every 133 Americans has celiac disease. This is relevant because celiac disease is an autoimmune disorder triggered by the protein gluten, which is found in wheat and other grains. For those of you that do not know, celiac disease affects the villi and the small intestines. These are what absorb nutrients from the food you eat. When people with celiac disease consume gluten, their body's immune system responds by damaging or destroying the villi. People with celiac disease suffer from many symptoms, but some of the main ones are malabsorption, osteoporosis, arthritis, iron deficiency anemia, bone and joint pain, and dental enamel defects, among other things. Although switching to a gluten-free diet has helped many others that are suffering from celiac disease, there has been no cure found, and there are still some people that even with a gluten-free diet are still being affected. Now I want you to imagine a caveman in a field and he's walking towards a wild cow. The caveman is going to try and get milk from this cow. The odds are good that the caveman would not even get close to the cow because he would run away. If he did manage to get to the cow would not stand still long enough to let him milk it. The reason I asked you to imagine this is because the scene just imagined will never happen. Cavemen did not milk wild cows, and therefore they did not eat dairy from cows. The only milk that Paleolithic people had was from their mother in their first couple months of their lives. The mother's milk is designed by nature to provide all the essential vitamins and nutrients that a newborn baby needs. Cow's milk does the same thing, except for calves, not humans. Although cow's milk has become a huge part of the diet today, it's quite difficult for our bodies to digest it. Digesting lactose, a sugar found in milk, requires lactase. Lactase is an enzyme produced by humans when they are children, but as adulthood approaches, most adults stop producing it, leading to lactose intolerance. Lactose intolerance is a problem for 33% of the world. In America, 80% of Native and Asian Americans, Native and Asian Americans, 75% of African Americans, 51% of Hispanic Americans, and 21% of Caucasian Americans are affected by lactose intolerance. Although these facts are known, the USDA continues to push milk as a necessary part of the human diet, even though cavemen didn't drink it for hundreds of thousands of years, and they were fine. I'm actually lactose intolerant, and I have lots of friends are that as well. And there's plenty of medicines on the market to help with that. But I found the best one to be cutting lactose out of your diet completely. Now let's look at some of the things that our diet is lacking and some of the man-made food items we're putting into our diet that are making us sick, and they are in just about everything. Grains like wheat and corn are lacking essential vitamins and minerals needed for a healthy life. B vitamins and the amino acid tryptophan specifically are extremely low in cereal foods. Eating these foods in large amounts can lead to several B vitamin deficiencies, which can lead to illness like pellagram beriberi. That is exactly what happened in the United States and the South between the years 1906 and 1940. Over 3 million people were diagnosed with these illnesses. This is horrible. And over 100,000 perished from the diseases. The root cause of the epidemic was excessive consumption of corn. As mentioned before, corn is very low in B vitamins, niacin, and amino acid tryptophan. A study performed by scientists over the last 20 years has determined that a diet rich in grains leads to a high level of amino acid homocysteine in the blood, which leads to an increased risk of heart disease. North American grains are enriched with B vitamins and tryptophan, so pellagram beriberi is not a problem. But if you have to add something to your food, you probably shouldn't be eating it. When looking at fossil records of Paleozoic people, we see how they died. We usually see massive trauma to the head, broken bones that led to infection, or maybe being attacked by a predator. Something that's not seen in these records is paleo people dying of type 2 diabetes or heart disease. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in America. In 2010, almost 300,000 people died from heart disease alone. So how is it that even though our grains are enriched with B vitamins and tryptophan to ensure low levels of homocysteine, Paleozoic people went from never having heart disease for hundreds of thousands of years to it being the leading cause of death in a few thousand years, which is a very short time by comparison. In the Paleozoic era, our ancestors had a diet with a ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids of about 2 to 1. From now, the average American, the ratio is much higher. It's about 10 to 1. And eating too much omega-6 fats instead of omega-3 fats increases your risk of heart disease and certain forms of cancer. It also aggravates inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. The lean meats, fish, fruits, nuts, and oils found in paleo diets guarantee that you will have the proper ratio of omega-6 and omega-3 fats. In game and organ meat, the ratio is usually 2 to 3 or 1, omega-6 to omega-3, but in 8 of the world's most commonly consumed cereal grains, the ratio is 22 to 1. The next major step in food innovation happened just a few decades ago when vegetable oils became part of our diet. In the 1940s and 1950s, when most of these vegetable oils were introduced, nobody realized that the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 was so important to our health. Food scientists at the time pretty much only knew that polyunsaturated fats lowered blood cholesterol. With this limited piece of the total picture, that they happily created a great variety of cooking oils and salad oils that were highly polyunsaturated, but also very high in omega-6 fats. Almost all processed foods contain some omega-6 rich trans fatty acids, which contributes to 30,000 deaths by heart disease every year in America. So now I'd like you to think back to your car's low oil light. Are you going to make sure to buy the right oil now? Remember that your body is your engine and the food you consume can keep you running strong, or have you broken down on the side of the road? And that is it.
Holy crap, that was horrible.
There was always something. I know, right?